So often as women, we dedicate our times to our children, to our spouses, and to our careers. And when we look up, we feel like life has left us behind. But you still have something good left to offer. Let's eat and leave not a crumb. This is the Leftovers Podcast with Renise Blythe.
Hello. Welcome to episode 1 of the Leftovers Podcast. I am your host, your one and only, Renise Blythe. So excited to be here with you. I'm excited to share this first episode with you all. The first episode is very dear to me because it is called This Time It Will Work Out. This time it will work out. Why is it important to me? Well, my week said it all. For the past few weeks, I have been under attack left and right. Everything possible that the enemy could have thrown at me happens. Just even last night, I tried to leave my house so I can go get my hair done. And guess what happened to me? Can you guys want to guess? Well, I was supposed to get to my appointment by 5:30. I realized by the time I came outside, I didn't have a car because I had got into a car accident a few days before, last Friday. And so I decided, okay, fine, I will catch an Uber. I took the Uber. I called for the Uber. The Uber took about 10, 15 minutes to get here. And then while I'm waiting for the Uber to come, they sends me a message that said they're not going to be here for another 25 minutes or so. So I said, okay, fine. Now I can't get my hair done. I called my girl who knows how to do hair, Lex, and she just so happened to be in town, but she has to be somewhere by 8 p.m. The Uber wasn't able to come. My husband's at work. I don't have a way to get my hair done. So I decided at this point, it's not working out. Can't get my hair done. Can't get my nails done. I need to look right for you guys. I need to look right for this first episode. Here I am. And I'm just like, what is going to happen now? Why is it? I'm having a whole meltdown. I'm sitting at my door having a whole meltdown. I'm in tears. And my husband comes home finally. And he's like, you can still do this. You can still go. I can, he's giving me all these ideas. Of course, in this moment, I don't want to hear what he got to say. He don't understand. I don't want just anybody touching my hair. And I'm sitting there and I'm in tears. And I'm like, I don't think I should do this, Steve. I think I need to call my brother and let him know this is not the time to do this. I can't show up like this. My hair looked a hot mess. And so after I got myself together and I had to pull myself together, I went upstairs, I prayed, and I tried to calm myself down. And the Holy Spirit said, show up as you are. And I'm like, no, he can't have possibly just told me to show up as I am. I looked a hot mess. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go get me a wig. I see it. I'm going to go get me a wig. So on my way to go get the wig, y'all couldn't believe what happened to me. On my way to get the wig, I have no idea how this happened. My husband probably thinks I'm just a bad driver because this would be my second accident in 1 week. I ended up rear-ending somebody on my way to get the wig. Now this lady pops out the car ready to fight me. I'm the most calmest I think I've ever been in my life, which is not very characteristic for me because usually you jump out of a car ready to pop me, I'm ready to fight just as much. But for some reason, the Holy Spirit had me very calm. I was very humble. I was very apologetic. And I kept telling her I was sorry because I really was. I was very sorry, but I also saw what was happening. Everything that could have kept me from getting ready for this podcast kept me away from this. Everything that wanted to keep me frustrated kept me frustrated. Everything that kept me in a state of maybe this is just not the time, maybe I'm just not ready, it showed up for me. Then when my husband pulled up, it was, by that time, the lady and I had already, we calmed down. I calmed her down. I actually managed to calm this woman down. And I was able to, we found out actually she's my neighbor. She lives like few doors down from me, which is very ironic. But I can also tell you that there's no ironic situations in life. There's always a reason why God does things. and I knew what this was. Of course, we missed the appointment to go get this wig. And so my wonderful husband, he got on the Google and started looking up places that might be open still. And here we are, 8:00 at night, trying to find a place where I could find some hair. And so he was able to find something for me. So shout out to the hair store at 58th and Woodland, because they was able to hook me up and get me a wig that I can handle today. And so here I am, your host, with a hair that is so out of my comfort zone and nails that are not appropriate for me. And I couldn't, here's the kicker. Outfit. This is mine. Did not get a chance to even buy a new outfit because everything that I ordered for the podcast, guess what? It did not come. And the ones that did come did not fit. And so here I am making a Target run at 11 o'clock at night, trying to hurry up to get something. And I ended up wearing my loungewear that I wear anyway when I'm working from home. So here we are, people. This is me, the real Renise Blythe, sitting here with you, having you all up in my business, because I really wanted to share this story with you, because this is exactly what we were going to talk about today, how it's going to work out this time. Everything I went through the last couple of weeks, everything that I went through last night, it only just really solidified for me how important it was for me to just show up just like I am. Just like the Holy Spirit told me last night, show up the way you are. Because guess what? If I would have gave up, what would have happened? My voice wouldn't have been heard. This testimony wouldn't have been heard. And I would have still been sitting here another 10 years saying, it's not time yet. I'm not ready. But here I am. I am ready. I'm showing up, and I'm ready to just have this conversation with you all, because this time it will work out.
Can I ask you a question? Should we just label that like the wig testimony? I think we should just put that on the podcast. That's the wig testimony.
The wig testimony.
The wig testimony.
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Can we label it that? I think people will buy into it. If we say this is the wig testimony, we put that on social media. I think everybody has a wig story.
Okay.
No?
I'll go with it.
Is this your first wig story?
This is my first wig story.
Is this your first wig?
It is my first wig.
I feel like you need to unpack that.
Actually, this is the first wig that I want to talk about.
No, let's talk about the other wig too.
Because the other wig was my little Kim days. I don't think y'all want to talk about that wig.
Okay, we'll save that for another podcast.
That's a whole nother episode.
So besides Steve, because we know Steve is great. Steve's the guy. When you are having those type of moments, do you have a friend that you typically call, like who would usually calm you down? Let's say Steve was at work. Like, what's friendships looking like in this season of is going to work this time? I'm coming out of my comfort zone. I'm having meltdowns. I can't drive.
I can't drive though. Oh, I can drive. Just not the last couple of weeks. I can't drive. But friendships in this season is difficult for me, and I'm saying that because in this season of my life, I have lost a lot of different connections that I thought would be with me forever. And I mourn those losses. I grieve those losses. These are friendships that I've had for many years, friendships that I've had for decades. Still love there, very much a lot of love. But I think for me in this season of my life, God has really, honestly, although I have friends that I still connect with, friends that I still go do, girl nights with and things like that. And this season of my life, God has really isolated me. He's really, I was in a time of preparation. And this time of preparation is really for such a time as this. It's for me. But I do have a couple of people that I do call on. Like last night when I called on Alexis Baxter, shout out to her. She has a beautiful shop, and she is always the one that kind of encourages me to just, chill, relax. She's not afraid to tell me the truth. My brother, also, y'all hear his voice in the background annoying me. He's the annoying little brother that always also is in my ear. And I also have my best friend who always, brings me back down to earth. She checks me a lot. And so it's important for me to have those people. My prayer is that I get Daniel friends, the Daniel type of friends. And that's really what I've always asked God for. And I think in this season of my life, he is pruning who needs to be there, and he's bringing in who needs to stay. And I'm thankful for that. And it's not easy. Trust me. Change is not always easy for anyone, yet yes, alone me, because I don't really deal with change very well.
Yeah,
but.
there's a lot of conversation around friendship breakups right now. Have you seen that going around kind of social media? It's a hot talking point right now.
I have not. However, I could see that. I could see a lot of that because I do see a lot more growth in individuals on social media, especially people that I follow. I think that sometimes in the seasons that you are in life, when you're growing, it's okay to change. It's okay for you to change sceneries. It's okay to change environment. It's okay to change jobs. It's okay to change mindsets. And it doesn't necessarily mean that these people become your enemies. It just means you're growing. You know, this should be a growth mindset. And I tell my children this all the time: do not stay in situations for too long that doesn't no longer serve you, that doesn't no longer help you or help you to become the person that God has called you to be. You know, you have to be able to be brave enough and to walk away from it. And I can tell you, I can say that easily to my children, but that wasn't always an easy thing for me to do. For me to be able to walk away from situations and say, listen, this is no longer serve me. You're no longer good for me. This is not something that I want around me anymore. Or just the fact that, and sometimes it could just be as easy as, I'm disconnected from you because where I'm going, God is not taking you with me. You know, and that's okay too, because you can love people from a distance. And I see that a lot, not even in my relationships, but just even the close relationships that I had, the relationships they have with other people. And that's okay. And this is where faith comes in, right? Because at the end of the day, you have to trust. If you say you trust God and you say you trust in God's word, his word says, I know the plans that I have for you. I know what I want you to do. There are plans to prosper you. There's plans to bring you good, not to harm you. So if you know that and God is removing people from your life, then in those moments, you have to really just thank him and accept it. And sometimes God does a 360 and bring those people back to you when it's time. And so that's what I'm hoping. Because
do you think those breakups are worse than a breakup with like a romantic relationship? Like, has that been an experience? What does that look like for you?
It depends. I think for me personally, I lost one of my best friends. The relationship a few years ago was severed, and I think that one hurted more. And I've been through a divorce before. And so I think, and you guys will hear all about that craziness in one of the episodes. But I think for me, I believe that relationship hurted more because this was my ride or die. This was somebody that really was my sister. This is a family. Like, this is, this is someone that I think that really hurted. I really do. I think this is a situation where I think it still hurts sometimes. I tell myself I'm healed from it. But when I think about it, the fact that it still gives me goosebump and even talking about it right now, it's making my stomach, feel weird, and I feel like I want to cry. I know I'm not totally over it because it's still something that stings, but to tell you all of that, what I just said earlier, I've accepted it because I also accept that maybe God is separating us for a reason. But I'm prayerful that one day God will bring us back together when the time is right. I loved her. I love her with all my heart, and I believe that her and I will one day we'll reconnect. It's just that during this time, I don't think it's the right time. But we love each other from a distance. You know, we still talk. It's just the relationship is not the same. And so, and I'm sure there's many of you that have those type of relationships or have gone through that. And what I can say is, don't give up on the person, and forgive fast. Please, please, please forgive fast. That's the one thing I was very intentional about. Regardless of what the person did or what I felt that she did, I made up my mind. No matter what, I'm going to forgive her, because I did not want to hinder anything that happened between me and God. I didn't want to hinder anything that God has for me or has for my children. So I made up my mind that regardless of what's going on, regardless of the situation, I am going to forgive her. And I did. And the forgiveness doesn't mean automatically you're all better, because clearly I'm not, because like I just shared with you, my stomach isn't not talking about it. I'm still not all 100% over it, but I forgive her to the point where I can still pray for her. I can still love her. I can still want her to have everything she deserves and need in her life. I can still want everything for her, but not have her in my life anymore.
Yeah. So it's funny when off camera you were talking about rapping, and you should not rap. Please do not rap.
Oh my gosh, y'all want to hear my rap?
No.
Like seriously, I was dropping some lyrics.
Some lyrics.
I really was. Wait, that's a song.
Yeah, that's.
Wait. What's the word? I was dropping bars.
Okay.
I was dropping bars. See, I know my
We
stuff,
believe
y'all.
you.
They try and play me.
We believe you.
No, I really was dropping bars.
We believe
like,
you.
okay.
We believe you. So
It's all right,
I
'cause-
tease you a lot about your musical taste. What are you listening to in this season of preparation?
Y'all don't want to know what I'm listening to in this season.
As you are preparing to do the pod,
Oh my goodness.
what are you listening to now?
Listen, I am really not I am very musically challenged, first of all. I can admit that. I love me some CC, y'all. Let me just say this. I love me some CC Winans. So CC, if you ever get to watch my podcast, girl, I love you. But listen, I love her. I listen to CC every morning. Every morning when I wake up, my alarm wakes me up to one of CC's songs. So The Goodness of God is actually the song that I listen to every morning. And that song is very important to me. When I left my job, well, I didn't leave. When they decided that I wasn't good enough for them anymore, they told me deuces. And it was crazy because the Lord had gave me an insight that I was getting ready to lose my job. And I remember telling you, brother, and telling my husband and telling some of my friends, guess what, y'all, I'm about to lose my job. Everybody was like, girl, stop it. Shut up. Stop speaking that. And I'm like, the Holy Spirit told me I'm about to lose my job. And I was ready. I was prepared. And so I remember the day I was getting ready to have the conversation, that song came on and it hit me different. I started singing. I was singing my heart out. I just knew I was CC's backup. And I was in there. I was having a good time. And I was really worshiping. But that was the first time I heard that song every morning for the last 2 years. And that was the first time that I actually understood what those words meant. Those words meant something different to me. He's always been faithful to me. And so when I went into that meeting, I was bold, I was good, and I was ready. And then I knew that the next level that God was getting ready, that next door he was getting ready to open for me, it was going to work out this time because I wasn't going to play with him. I knew in that moment that God closed that door because a better door and a bigger door was getting ready to open. So, all right, let's get right into it. So, listen, for those of you that knows the story of Esther. Esther is one of my favorite stories in the Bible. Why do you think that? I'm just wondering, do you guys think it's just because she became a queen? I mean, queen to queen, I understand. I think I'm a queen, but, I think the reason why I love the story of Esther so much is because she's one of the people. There's a lot of stories like this in the Bible, but she's one of the major people for me that really I identify with her through hardship, through disappointment, through things that has gone, and just how God can really use a nobody to speak to a somebody. And so for me, I really do identify with her, and I really enjoy reading her story. And I've read it before, much young, many, many years ago when I first got saved. And I never really received much from it until now. I guess in this season of my life, God really wanted me to understand why Esther did what she did, why God chose her, and what the reasons was. And so I remember when I first read it back in March, when I first realized that I wanted to do this podcast, and I finally gave God a yes. After 10 years, I gave God a yes. And I said, and I remember me and Dion was talking about it. We were just shooting the breeze, and we were trying to figure out, okay, what would your first topic be called? What would be your first episode? I said, it's going to work out this time. And he was like, yo, I love that. I love that. That's like on point. He was like, but why? I said, because it will. It's going to work out this time. Because do you know how many times I've tried to launch my ministry? And it's not because I tried to do it and failed. I tried to launch it, but never did it. I tried to launch it, but I always talked myself out of it. Yes, like, yeah, exactly. A failure to launch. Like the movie. I think there was a movie called that. But I did. I think everything that I wanted to do, I kept trying to talk myself out of it. I wanted to write a book. I talked myself out of that. Not even I wanted to. Let's just be clear, because I keep saying a lot of I's here. And to be honest with you, it wasn't even an I in sight. It was really more so God told me to do something, but I decided it wasn't time. I decided I wasn't ready. I decided that who am I to even do this? I decided that I wasn't good enough. I've even tried to talk myself out of doing this podcast because I kept saying, I'm not a social media person. I don't have a following. Everybody that follows me are my family or my friends. How am I supposed to do this? Like, why a podcast? I'm okay with being behind a pulpit and preaching. I do not want to be on nobody's podcast. But I had to realize, the Lord is doing something here. He's taking me out of my comfort zone for a reason. And so if God has ever told you to do something and you're trying to talk yourself out of it, please listen and listen here. Stop it. Stop it, stop it, stop it. Because just like Esther, and I'm going to read you something that really stood out to me. It was Esther chapter 4, verse 14. Give me a second. And those of you that are my age, you'll understand why I need the glasses. And my age meaning I'm still in my 20s. Yeah, definitely early 20s, right? Yep, early 20s. With a 19-year-old.
What? Nah, I'm going to edit that out. Yeah, that may not bode well these days. It's a lot going on. We'll just say you like I'm older. That's all.
You know what? Okay, hold on.
Do you need Jeopardy music?
I do not.
No.
All right. So I am reading out of Esther chapter 4, verse 14. And this is, if you are familiar with the story of Esther, this is Esther having a conversation with her uncle Mordecai. And Mordecai, you know what? I'll start with verse 13. And Mordecai told them to answer Esther, do not think in your heart that you will escape in the king's palace any more than all the other Jews. For if you remain completely silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise for the Jews from another place, but you and your father's house will perish. Yet, who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this? And this really spoke out to me, especially verse 14, where he says, for if you remain completely silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise for the Jews from another place. but you and your father's house will perish. This was me. I wanted to remain silent. I did not want to do this. I did not want to be in the public light. I did not want to have, if I could just do my little evangelism quietly, the way I normally been doing, go out the country and do my little missionary work and just do it quietly. I just felt like I was doing the right thing. I'm pleasing God. I'm being obedient. But then I realized very quickly, I am putting God in a box. I am putting him in a box that I created. God don't belong in a, my God is big. I got a big God. God can open up anything, any door, any window. He can do anything he wants, and he has. He showed it to me over and over again. Do you know how many times that someone has told me that they did not want me, and God will open up another door and show them right to their face why he closed that door in the first place? I can't believe this is actually, I think this happened to me 3 times in a row. And every time it happened, God actually opened up a bigger door for me. One thing that I've learned through all those hardships, all that rejection, all of those low moments in my life, all those times that I was in the valleys of my life, those disappointments, one of the things that I always try to really exercise is my faith. It's so easy for us to keep saying, oh, trust God, trust God. Just pray. I do it too. I tell my friends that too. When they come to me with their problems, that's what I do. You know, trust God. It's so easy. That's such an easy thing to say. But to actually do it, it's a whole different thing. And I can tell you, me personally, no matter how much I love God, and I love the Lord, okay? I am a Jesus girl through and through. But there are moments in my life, like those moments where I am in those valleys, where exercising that faith, that doesn't come so easily for me. There's those moments when all hell is breaking loose in my household. While I'm in those valleys, I can't just trust God. I take things into my own hands. But then I realize very quickly when I do that, instead of going to God, instead of praying, instead of worshiping, all I do is create more chaos. I like to call it my manic episodes, right? Because I will take a situation that I decide is not, God don't need to deal with that. Renise got this one. And then I create a bad situation into a manic situation. And so I have learned over the years that I have to trust God. So a couple weeks ago, my husband and I and our daughter and our baby, I like to still call him the baby, even though he's 3. We'll talk about that. How do I have a 3-year-old, right? We flew out to Great Falls, Montana to go visit my oldest son who's out there in school. And as we're driving, because we had a rental car out there, and we're driving through the streets of Montana, when I tell you it is so beautiful, so serene, and all you see is all these mountaintops and all these, you see some valleys, but you see these beautiful mountains. And in that moment, I realized, like, that's the goal, right? That's the goal, is for us to get to these mountaintops. We want those mountaintop moments. We're going through these valleys for a reason. We don't stay in the valley. Please don't stay in the valley. I have stayed in the valley way too long. And my goal has always been to reach those mountaintops and to get to the mountaintop moment. And for me today, sitting here, having all these people here for me, getting my hair and makeup done, well, the wig and makeup done, this is my mountaintop moment. See, what people fail to realize is that when you're in the mountaintop, when you're having a mountaintop moment, you don't need that much faith, right? It's when you're in those valley moments. It's when you're in that valley, you really have to push through and get some faith. But going through those valley moments and ending up here, it was worth it to me. Everything I went through the last couple of months, all the hell that was breaking through in my house, the issues, the attacks on my marriage, the attacks with my kids, the attacks on my job, everything was leading here because I knew, God knew, and even the enemy knew that this time it will work. So I'm going to leave you all to say, at the end of the day, whatever it is you're striving for, whatever God has poured into your heart, no matter what it is, whether it's the business he told you to do 10 years ago, whether it's to marry her, whether it's to make sure you do certain things with your children, whatever it is, whether it's to go back to school, which I've done that too, things I put off, whatever it is that is on your heart that God has told you, has put in your heart, stop putting it off. Stop being a coward like I was for many, many years. Stop talking yourself out of the things that the Lord had for you. Stop talking yourself out of it like Esther tried to talk herself out of it until she got a real quick reality check from her uncle. Because at the end of the day, if you stay silent, if you stay stagnant and you don't do anything, you'll never know. Like, I would have never known this was possible if I stayed a coward, if I stayed silent. I would have never known that it was possible for me to get my master's now after all this time, after getting my first master's and not doing anything about it, but then decided to go back to school to do this again while pregnant, while having a toddler. So trust me when I tell you, if Renise Blythe can do it, why can't you? Anyone can do it. Because if you have God in your life and you trust God and you're exercising that faith in those valleys, God will make sure he position you to have those mountaintop moments. Because right now, I am enjoying this mountaintop and I am going to continue to enjoy it. And when those valleys come again, because they will, because you don't always stay on the mountaintop, trust me. And when those valleys come, I'm going to remember how that mountaintop felt, and I'm not going to want to stay in those valleys. So I just pray that every single one of you takes something out of this today. If I can bless you with this testimony, other than the wig testimony, by the way, because let me just tell you, this is a whole vibe, but honestly, don't let yourself be talked out of doing great things. You are loved. You are special. You are called to do wonderful things. And God is going to be with you every step of the way. As long as it's in God's will, he will make sure he bless it. All right. I thank you, everyone, for listening to me today. And I am excited to talk to you guys next week. And guess what? Next week is going to be even hotter because next week I'm going to be talking about how my kids hate me. But listen, trust me. When I tell you what you see here is what you get. So I hope to come back soon and I can share with you a little bit more insight into me being a mom and raising 3 kids and also having a baby after 40. And so, yeah, I just shared my age, but whatever. All right. I'll talk to you guys next week. Love you. Bye-bye. I really hope you all enjoyed this episode of the Leftovers podcast. Please share this with a friend. Subscribe to all channels wherever you're listening to podcasts. Don't walk.